Okay, so what I want to do today really is to do a small thing on the parsha. I want to do something on Pesach. Start with Pesach and get things a little bit going. Firstly, just to, you all know that Rav Chaim Kanievsky passed away. Right? It was unbelievable, 750,000 or whatever people at a funeral. I mean, it's mind-boggling. When you actually think about it, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, but I can just see a sea of people, just like unbelievable, you know. That's the usual thing. They're trying to get the coffin to the grave, you know, and moving and stuff. Anyway, so I mean, so what I really want to try and focus on is something that Rabbi Arbach mentioned at the last night at the memorial service, because I think that will color a lot of what we are supposed to do. So if you look at the beginning of the parsha, at the beginning of our parsha of Shmini, which is on page 588. So we know that this whole of Shmini begins after the 7 days of the establishment of the Mishkan, right? It took a whole period to establish the Mishkan, and during that period, we see actually some amazing things. At the end of the parsha of last week, there's what's called a shalshelet. The shalshelet is a trop, a type of trop. I don't know if anyone was there. No, see, if I was with the guys, then I could really do guilt. But not everyone goes to Kriyas HaTorah. But in the Kriyas HaTorah, there are 4 times in the Torah, you have a thing called the shalshelet. The shalshelet is a 3-time trop. You'd say the trop, you go over and you go over it again. And the purpose of it is to designate some type of hesitation of some sort. That's really what it is. Hesitation because there's choices. You're going to do one thing or you're going to do another thing. The time we find it for the first time, anyone know? Lot's wife. Lot's wife turns round. Okay, and when she turns round, she gets turned into salt. But her turning round is an indication of her saying, do I go forward or do I go back? And the fact that she turns round to go backwards is a choice she made. The other time is with Yosef. Yosef, when Potiphar's wife is about to try and seduce him, he's about to fall into it. Also uses the shalshelet. There again, it's about a choice. So the Slonim Rebbe says the choice it's not about her or life or values. It really was an understanding of what she was trying to achieve. She was trying to be part of the future of the Jewish people. Okay, so that's what she saw, because he eventually married her daughter. She saw that she was going to have a role to play within the Jewish people. So she thought she would be it, but she's not. It's her daughter, which is strange in and of itself. But and so his choice is he looking at her Ruach HaKodesh, so to speak, right? Or is he following his value system? It's quite a powerful thing, right? God versus your standard value system. Because God gave her the Ruach HaKodesh, otherwise we wouldn't have had it. It's quite interesting how to do that. That's the one. I can't remember the third one. I can't remember where it is. But the fourth one is this one. And the fourth one is where Moshe Rabbeinu is about to do the shkita, is about to do the shkita, that is the slaughtering of the animal, and that as he does that shkita, he passes on the mantle of leadership to Aaron and to the Kohanim. Because he's been the Kohen Gadol, and he's been the king, he's been the everything, until this point in time where Aaron becomes the Kohen Gadol. And the question is that many are saying the reason why he's doing this, why he has this hesitation is he's about to hand over. Not so simple to hand over. You got to make sure that it's handed over to the right person. And Aaron obviously is the right person, but maybe he's not. No, because there is the issue of this that's hanging of the golden calf. There's stuff that's hanging is the right person. We never know, because whenever you pass over the mantle of leadership to somebody else, so there's always going to be hesitation. So there's a lot that happens before this. But ultimately, the 7th day, everything's done. They're ready to go. And that's where the parsha starts. Moshe Rabbeinu calls Aaron and his sons, and all the elders, Vayomer el Aaron, and he says to Aaron, he tells him to take all these different animals they have to bring, because now Aaron is now the new Kohen Gadol, and he's going to now do all the korbanot as it's supposed to be done. And it goes through what they have to do, and it's really quite a powerful thing. But what happens on the Yom HaShvini? On that day, that they're so excited, it's an unbelievably powerful experience. All of a sudden, everything's changed. Moshe is now the king. Aaron is the Kohen Gadol. The Jewish people have got their leaders very clearly defined, and everything is wonderful, and it's a very deep and very close relationship to Hashem. And then it says, now I'm on page 592. Well, just before that, it says, and this fire comes from heaven and consumes all these korbanot. And you can imagine how amazing that must have been, right? I've never seen that before. That's never happened before. This fire comes down from heaven. And it says, Vayar kol ha'am vayaronu. And the people, Vayar, they saw Vayaronu. What is Vayaronu? Rina. Joy. They have this incredible state of great joy. Okay? And what? Vayiplu al paneim, and they fall on their faces, they just bow to Hashem. And it's so exciting, you cannot believe. And then it says, this is an interesting story. The Nadav and Avihu, who are the two eldest sons of Aaron, who are the ones who everything's going to be passed to, right? That's the next generation of Kohen Gadol. And what happens? They take their fire pans, and they put fire on their fire pans. Now, there's nothing wrong with putting fire on your fire pan when you do it in the right structure, because the whole thing, the whole of Parshat Tzav started with the concept of the Eish Tamid, the fire, the consistent fire. Now we're talking about Eish. Eish is the big theme on this. I'll get to it. We'll get there. And not only do they take the Eish, the fire, they also take Ketoret. What's Ketoret? Okay, so let's say better than that, because it's not just incense. What is the thing about the Ketoret? Where do we use the Ketoret? And why do we use the Ketoret? The Ketoret is there for a purpose. The Ketoret is there to be a reach nifar. It's to be this incredible smell, right, in front of Hashem. And when Hashem smells it, everything is good again. Right? We see that with there's a plague that is later on. There's a plague that comes from Israel. Aaron takes the Ketoret, runs through, Hashem stops the plague. There's something powerful about the Ketoret. That the Ketoret has the ability to kind of like appease Hashem. Okay, so you're taking this appeasing thing, okay, and what do? They put it on the fire. But what they do is they bring before Hashem an Eish Zara. What is Zara? Strange, but it's strange. It's not it's inappropriate. Let's call it that. A fire that is inappropriate. Hashem lo tziva otam, which Hashem did not command. So they're doing all the right things. They're taking fire on their fire pans and they go to Torah, but they're bringing this thing that's inappropriate. Why? Because Hashem did not command. You can do anything you want, right? But if you think you're doing something to get you closer to Hashem, but Hashem didn't command it, so then you're not doing the right thing. That's just to sure. Okay? Then it says, and this fire comes out from Hashem, and destroys them, eats them, consumes them. And they die lifnei Hashem. What does it mean, lifnei Hashem? Lifnei Hashem means in front of Hashem, because they were holy in what they were trying to achieve. Doesn't mean that they did the right thing. Okay, and we carry on. This is what Hashem says. Those who come close to me, I will be sanctified. So what are you going to say to Aaron? What are you going to say to? And this is always, like when tragedies happen, you always try and find words. Okay, but you can't find words. Who the hell do you think you are? We try. We try and find words to try and appease, and we try and say the thing. We always say the wrong thing. You'll never say the right thing. That's a given. Right? Okay. I remember when my sister died. I remember people that are doing stupid things. They try and appease, and they say dumb, idiotic thing. And then you think back and sit with you. It's quite traumatic. Okay? And by Yidom, Aaron said they had nothing to say. Moshe says to him, these are the close people to you, by Yidom, Aaron, and Aaron has nothing to say. And then what did he do? He called them to come. He called people to come to clean it up, and they come and they clean it up, and it's all very difficult, very complicated space. But Kroivai Akadesh, those who are closest to me, I will become sanctified. On this, there is a commentary that says the following: who are the Kroivai? Who are those who come close? In this case, it is Aaron's sons. But Aaron's sons were great tzaddikim. They weren't just like your average schmo who decided to try and take things into his hands. These were the greatest tzaddikim of the generation. So comes along the commentary and they explain the Provaya Kadesh that we need to understand that we become close to them when they pass on. There's certain type of connection that we have to these great tzaddikim when they die. And we become their krovim. We become there as close as we possibly can to them. It's fascinating. Nadav and Aviv is a terrible thing, theoretically, but we use them as a symbol of this incredible passion for Hashem, which went wrong. Something that we always relate to. We're passionate about certain things. How do we do it? And this is so. Rabbi Albach spoke about how we have to understand that we are the krovim, somehow the relations of Rav Chaim Kanievsky when he passes on, in the same way as this way. What does that mean? So when you have karov and a person passes away, so you get hopefully you'll get some inheritance of some sort, right? So this is we have to know, we have to behave like the heirs of Rav Kanievsky. And what do we inherit from him? So that's the question. So I'll tell you two stories that Rabbi Albach told, because I think they're unbelievable illustrations of who this man was. So the first one, there is, we understand that Rav Kanievsky did a siyum, a completion of, every year he was a Bukhari, the firstborn. Right? So on Erev Pesach, we know we got the part of the firstborn. We're not going to discuss it now, we'll discuss that another time. But so he made a siyum. You have to make a siyum in order that you can eat. Now, he didn't really need to eat, he just wanted to make a siyum. So what was his siyum on? Most people make a siyum on a masechta. There are questions that I asked with Moshe Feinstein, can you make a siyum on a book of Tanakh, so like Malachim Aleph? Yes. He said, yes, you can, as long as you're finishing something. So Rav Chaim finished the whole of Shas, Bavli, Yerushalmi. He went through all the Midrashim. He went through all Mamarei Chazal, Tosefta, which is the stuff at the back. All this in 1 year, every year. Okay. In addition to that, he went through the whole Zohar and the Tikkunei Zohar. He went through everything. He knew everything. Just knew everything. Okay. So that, like I said, imagine doing that every year. Okay. People take 7 years to do Daf Yomi, right? He did it in 1 year, everything. Like you can't even begin to fathom the knowledge that this man had. So there was there's a man, Rav Yeshua Hartman. Rav Yeshua Hartman took the Maharal. The Maharal wrote a number of Sfarim, and in none of his Sfarim does he cite sources where he gets the stuff from. So everybody tries to find the sources. So Rav Yeshua Hartman took it on himself with his chavrusa that they would put together all the sources that the Maharal quotes. And he published the book. It's unbelievable because all of a sudden you have real access, because now you can go to the sources. And when you have the sources, you can really understand things better. So he published all. But one of the things that they came across was that according to the Maharal, the Tchiyas HaMeisim, the revival of the dead, will begin in Maras HaMachpelah, in Hebron. Okay, but nobody could find the source. They cannot find the source anywhere. So they go to Rav Chaim to ask him if he knows the source. So they're walking down the road and they ask him, do you know the source? So Rav Chaim stops and he says, let me think. It's not in Bavli. It's not in the Yerushalmi. Not in the Midrash. Not in the Zohar. It's in the Tikkunei Zohar. Can you imagine that? That's like a computer. A human being, right? Be able to do that because he never wasted a moment out of life. We should be like that. So that's a story of his brilliance. Okay, and it's an amazing story of his brilliance because it really is. That's something we can take on to try and be as brilliant as him. I don't think so, but we can take on to try and learn a little bit more. That's one thing. Okay, But then he told the story I'd never heard before. It was an unbelievable story. So he, the Gedolim don't care whether you wear a yarmulke, a black yarmulke, a crocheted yarmulke. It's only us idiots who think that those are important things. The Gedolim care about the Jewish people. That's all they care about. So he told a story about this father who was not from at all, and he lost one of his kids in one of the wars, and he used to wear his dog tags. The dog tags which have the son's number and name and everything on it. So it's an amazing story. So he went to Rav Chaim just to get a bracha. Why did he go? People said he should go. So he went. He had no real connection, not from God. So like, why would you go to the God Lador? Just because people said go, so he went. So he went there, and there were people there that record how Rav Chaim took the dog tags and he started like stroking them. So a beautiful story, like stroking them. And he said to the father, now this is a man who there's no connection at all, right? He says to his father, your son is home. The son is sitting up there on the kisah kavod because it's a start of Kiddush Hashem, etc., etc. All of these things. And the man was so blown away that a man who didn't know him in any way, shape, or form, and in no way connected on a values match, there's no values match, right? Was so able to, and he was crying, it was like the Rav Chaim was crying, that he turned his whole life around. He said, if that's what it means to be connected, and in Israel, not here, we all are, traditional in New York, whatever. There in Israel, if you're out, you're out. And there's animosity towards that world, and especially the Haredi world. Right? If this man cared so much for me, and that he cared so much about the cries of my son, it changed the whole life. So that's the person we've got to emulate. You'll never be able to emulate. Well, not you never, but it's unlikely that we'll be able to know what he knew. Okay, even if we start learning now. Okay, but it is likely that we can love as much as he did for another Jew. So I think that's an important thing. Okay, so that's the parsha space that I wanted to do. Now I want to look at Pesach. And my question to you is, what month is the month of Pesach? Does Pesach fall out in? You're all going to tell me Nisan, right? What does the Torah tell me that the month that the Chag of Pesach falls out into? Aviv. Nisan does not exist in the Torah, by the way. Where does the name Nisan come from? What does it mean? And you're going to say miracles, and you're going to be wrong. Okay, so don't say miracles. Because if it was that easy, I wouldn't offer the free zone, right? Okay? Where's the month of Nisan? So the month of Nisan, the name Nisan is actually Akkadian. It's Akkadian, and the Akkadians gave it over to the Babylonians. And when Am Yisrael went into Galut, we took on the names of the Babylonian months. Our names that we have, Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, Adar, Nisan, those are not Jewish names. They're Babylonian names, or from before that. Okay? So that's important. They're not ours. The same way as if you look in the, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Tet, if you think of it quoted from, right? That's from the Christians, not ours, by the way. Right? We reference things differently as the Jewish people, right? But we've got this month. So what does the word Nisan mean? Does it mean miracle? Okay. No, you're not, because you were right. What does Aviv mean? Don't tell, you heard right before. What is the word? Aviv does not mean spring. Okay. Stop with that. You know that. You can, if you really want to throw it out, you get it, right? I'm sorry, I hope you don't mind. Right? What does Aviv mean? Aviv doesn't mean spring. We translate it as spring. We translate it as spring, but that's not what it means. Because we translate it as spring because we have no other reference to it. We know, for example, that Pesach has to fall out in Aviv, right? Why does it have to fall out in Aviv? Rebirth, anyone else? So we live a world, I'll tell you, Rabbi Abba said an incredible story about Rav Chaim. I'm coming back, and that's why I'm good. But he said that he wrote a book on kosher locusts. Which locust was kosher? Locust. Yes. There are certain locusts are kosher. You want to eat prawns, this is the fun you got to find, and you can eat it. Gesundheit, go for it. Enjoy. Okay? Each to his own. So there are kosher. There is a kosher. There is the halachas of kosher logos. Now remember, nobody knows what they are because we lost the Masorah or whatever the case is. And Rav Chaim is writing this book on the locust, and he can't understand something. He's in Bnei Brak, which is not well known for its grassy fields. Okay, and if anybody ever been to Bnei Brak is like one piece of concrete, just with spaces in between. That's what it is. So he's in Bnei Brak, and all of a sudden he sees a locust at his window. Okay, and it's with that locust that he's able to understand certain things that he couldn't understand. So it's a nice story, but his father-in-law, gosh, I can't remember his name. His father-in-law, who was the Gadol Ador at the time, heard about the story. So it's not such a story anymore, because now you're talking about Gedolei Yisrael who are engaging in the story of a locust, right? Why would they do that? So his father-in-law sees this and he starts out going crazy. Unbelievable, fantastic, amazing. Why? Because in the Shulchan Aruch, there's a question about a bird that has an extra toe. Okay? A bird that is that kosher? Because it's an abnormality. Or abnormality is kosher, right? And so they didn't know what to do, but they tell about the Ri, was one of the Rishonim. So we're talking about 1,000 years ago. These are the holiest of holiest. Rashi, the Ri, the Rambam, all of these people that you heard about. These are the holiest of holy, right? The Ri is discussing this, and what happens is a bird with 5 toes flies into the okay? So Rav Elyashiv, that's what it was. Rav Elyashiv was the Gadol Ador. He died at 114. Okay? It was an amazing human being. So he said about Rav Chaim that we do not have a record for 1,000 years since the time of the Rishonim, right? That when a person was bothered with something, okay, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent them the answer. Sent him the answer. Right? We have it in a Rashi. There's a Rashi which talks about the ephod. I'm sure we spoke about this. In the ephod, nobody knows what the ephod looked like. Nobody knows what anything looked like. But a me'il is a covering. But the ephod was this like a tunic thing that went over the tunic, and nobody knew what it looked like. So Rashi writes in his thing. He said that this ephod, it's like the things that the noble women wear when they ride horses. So there you go. How would Rashi know what the noble? It's like checking out the women. I mean, it's ridiculous. So the story is, because he's working on this, he can't understand it. Okay, and then he has this clattering outside of the horse hooves. Remember, he lives in a very wealthy man, Rashi. So he goes out and he sees these noble women riding their horses, and they're wearing this thing. That's what the ephod looks like. So that's what happened to Rishonim, but also happened to Rav Chaim. So why am I telling you that? Because Rav Chaim is the world of halacha. Because the way the Torah works, the Torah doesn't work we like the philosophy of it. Okay? But in order to get to the depth of the philosophy, we've got to start with the halachic parameters. Because it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu lives in the Arba Amot of halakha. Okay? So the philosophies are great, but they have to fit in halakha. So therefore, when I say to you, why is it difficult? Why does Pesach have to fall out? So you're right, rebirth, renewal, all of those things. 100% right. But how do we put that? Where's the halakhic parameter of that? Because Pesach has to fall out at a certain time of the year. Right? Why? Because rebirth, renewal, right? Of what? That's the question. Oh, you really want to say it. You really want to say it. No, Yetziat Mitzrayim is a product of it. I saw something over the weekend that Yetziat Mitzrayim is the next step. It's the expression of something much bigger than that. Okay? So what happens on the second day of Pesach? The Omer. What is the Omer? The Omer is not counting 50 days. Right? That's a great idea. But it starts with something. What does it start with? It starts with the harvesting of the barley. Pesach has to fall out with the first harvest of barley, around the time when you can harvest the barley for the first time. It has to, which means the weather has to be at a certain stage. That's the time of renewal. But it's about the barley. It's about the korban. It's about the halacha. So if Pesach falls out at that time. When it does, then you can go and you can chop down the barley and you start the process of the Omer and you count 50 days to Matan Torah. Okay, so what does Aviv mean? Aviv is a word that is used to describe new barley. Barley. So'ora be'aviv. It's not spring. It's a descriptive word. Yes, we call it spring. That's what we now call it. The Torah doesn't use that. That's what we use it. But it's a descriptive word to describe the time frame, right, of which barley is ready to be harvested. That's the Chodesh HaAviv. Why? Because that's the renewal. What is the renewal of Aviv? Of barley. Why barley? Why do we use barley? Why do we start with barley? That's the second day of the Omer, and then we count 50 days, and then what do we do? We bring wheat. So why do we start with barley and then we bring wheat? Barley is animal food. Then we count 50 days from Yetziat Mitzrayim till we get the Torah, and the Torah transforms us from animals into human beings. We eat the wheat. Okay, so Pesach really is the beginning of the transformation of the Jewish people. The month of Nisan, the way the Aruch HaShulchan tells us, is for us. Why would we transform? Why would you want to transform from an animal to a human being? Excuse me. A while ago, I saw, and I think we spoke about. I saw this most terrible post on Facebook. It shocked me, like honestly, to my core. It spoke about human animals. You know, there are dog animals, and there are whale animals, and there are, I don't know, penguin animals, and there are human animals, and you have to look after all of it. So if that's the case, that's why you'll die to save the whales. You'll kill a human being to save the trees, and because that's bizarre. If you think a human being is an animal, so then a human being is an animal, right? But a human being is not an animal. But why is a human being? Why would we want to say that a human being is not an animal? Or why would we want to grow? Why would we want to become human beings and not just stay animals driven by our physical instinct? There's got to be a reason, and the reason is in the month of Nisan. The reason is the month of Nisan. What does the month of Nisan teach? So the Aruch HaShulchan says an amazing thing. What is Pesach about? See, it's like amazing. When you read the Gedolim, they go into the Kishkas. So you got to go into the Kishkas of Pesach. So Pesach is about becoming the Jewish people and all these lovely things, right? Which it is. But it's also about something much bigger than that, and much deeper than that, much more foundational. Why do you want to be part of the Jewish people? Who cares that Pesach is the Jewish people, unless you care about being part of the Jewish people? There must be something that you want to be a part of. What do you want to be part of? So everyone's too scared to answer you. I could be wrong, right? Okay. What do you want to be part of? Hashem chose us. Why did He chose us? What is that about the Kodesh Baruch Hu? So Aruch HaShulchan says that if you look carefully into really the depth of the story, the depth of the story is about Hashem showing His total mastery over everything. His mastery with otot and motin, with all these incredible wonders and all the outstretched arm and the right hand and the strong arm, all these different things is Hashem's mastery over the world. But not only His mastery over the world, the way in which He shows His mastery over the world is twofold. He shows His hashgacha, the definitive divine providence, over how by those who are wicked He punishes, and those who are good he gives good to as well. It's sometimes hard to understand that, but you see it. Okay? And doesn't mean that if you're getting like things are tough in your life that you're being punished. It just means that there's a Hashem, there's something else in store. But as a general rule, that's how Kodesh Baruch Hu works. It's midah keneged midah. And if it's midah keneged midah, you know why I want to grow? Because I want to grow with being part of that world, of Hashem's providence. I want to be part of a world of showing them be part of something bigger than just following my instinct. Because that's something I want to do. I want to be a Jew because a Jew has the capacity and the instruction to be bigger than him or herself. That's the month of Nisan. It's not just a sweet little month. It's a month in which we are able to recognize a Kodesh Baruch Hu from that point on. If you look at from Nisan in the Torah, from Nisan, from Yetziat Mitzrayim onwards, everything's different. The whole world is different. But before that, the world is about the Torah is about the world. Until that point in time, at Nisan, it becomes very, 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 very focused on Am Yisrael. Everything's about Am Yisrael. But if HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks into the Torah, if we go to the world, then that story about Am Yisrael is about what we are supposed to be doing in the world, how we're supposed to be reflecting HaKadosh Baruch Hu, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so that's the month of Nisan. So we've got, we went through some stuff in the parasha. We worked into the month of Nisan. We understood that the month of Nisan, the name does not imply nice. You can give all the droshes in the world, but that's not what it means. Okay, and that's very important. It implies renewal because the word Nisan means the beginning of the barley crop in Acadia. Okay, why is that so important? For us to understand that that's the reflection. Where do we find, and this is where we're gonna finish it. Where do we find the first time? Sorry, not that answer. Where do we find the name of the month of Nisan given in anywhere in Tanakh? Okay, so now think about it carefully. You'll get it. You'll get it. Why? Because Nisan is the Babylonian name. It's the name of the month of goats. Right? So where do we find the other months? We find the Yechezkel mentions it. Remember, Yechezkel was one of the prophets that spoke outside of the land of Israel. Okay, not inside. He's part of diaspora. Okay, so he speaks about a couple of the months, Adar and Iyar, but Nisan is mentioned somewhere for the first time. I'm glad you all listened very carefully. That was a hint. Very good. Excellent, Rob. Excellent. So as Robin pointed out in Cherik Gimel of the Megillah, right, that's where we find the name Nisan for the first time in Tanakh. Okay, and it's referred to as Nisan, the first month of the year, Nisan. That's how it refers to. So it's our designation, the first month, and Nisan, which is their designation. Okay, because we have to remember it's a global message that's coming out of the Megillah. But what we do see is that the Megillah is the hidden part of Hashem, the hidden story of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's how the year ends in Adar. The year begins with Nisan, which is the revealing of Hashem's providence over everybody. And that's how you have to see it. That's what Pesach really is. Not just us coming out of Egypt, that's cute, right? But so what? It's really us coming out of Egypt because we saw the revealed face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it's that revealed face of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that takes the barley and makes it into the wheat, that makes the animal, that was the person, the slave like an animal. You just do what you're told, right? To become a human being, which is ultimately what the Matan Torah was. There's much more to it, but let's stop there, and I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, ladies, have a good day.